Larry Sharpe has traveled the country and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. Where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharpe Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard. Because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharpe Way Radio.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. So happy to have you here with me this afternoon. WYSL Rochester, New York. If you want to chat with me after the break, 585-346-3000. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine from Florida. Shouldn't say a friend, an acquaintance of mine from Florida a couple years ago. And I remember him telling me how he went to Florida, why he went to Florida many years ago. And it wasn't a great story at all. He said, I just packed up and I left. And I said, I remember I was bothered by you leaving. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you know, you left your kids. You just left your kids. And he said, yeah, I had to. And I didn't understand what he meant then. I didn't get it. I thought, why would you leave your kids? I don't get it. You're a dad. You got two kids, little girl, little boy. I get you got divorced. But why'd you leave your kids? I didn't get it. He said, Larry, you don't understand how this works. He said, when I got divorced, my wife took everything. I said, okay, I get that. That's tough. But does that mean you leave your kids? He said, no, that wasn't what happened. He said, I got laid off. And when I got laid off, they still wanted me to pay. And I said at the time, I was like, I get it. Look, your kids still got to eat, whatever. I get it. He goes, that isn't the point. He goes, my wife wasn't starving. She could feed them. I had no income and they still wanted me to pay. I said, okay. I kind of get it. Did they at least give you some time to pay? He said, no. He said, Larry, they put me in jail. I was like, wow. I thought he was kind of lying. I got to tell you, I thought it wasn't true. He goes, and they took my license. He was some kind of contractor. I forgot. This is years ago. I forgot what he was. Maybe he was a carpenter or something. I don't remember what he was. He was some kind of tradesman, and he had some kind of professional license. I don't remember what that was. He goes, they were going to take that too, and they're going to take my driver's license also. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, what are you talking about? I said, how are you going to go make the money if you don't have your professional license, your driver's license? He said, exactly. He said, I would have been back in jail again. He said, I had to leave just so I could not be in jail, so I could just survive. And I thought, wow, that's a terrible story. And back then, this is several years ago, I thought, that's an unlucky guy, right? Oh my God, that's a terrible situation. Or maybe he did something dumb, whatever. That was where my head was then. And then I realized many years later that was a common practice, that type of punishment from the state is a common practice. And you might say to yourself, Larry, why do I care? I'm not a dad with a couple of kids who's divorced. Why does that matter? Why do I care? And maybe you shouldn't. I'm not here to tell you that you need to care about that. I personally do care about fathers in New York State, but maybe you don't. Okay, no worries. What you should be worried about is New York State and most states are now okay and have been okay with punishing citizens who are already down. Punishing citizens to get their cut. You might say, wait a minute, Larry. Why do they get their cut? Because how New York State works is when you pay your child support, it goes through New York State and they get a cut like a credit card company. So New York State makes money off of you paying. So you got to pay, which is why even if you pay, but you don't pay through the state doesn't count it. Let me say that again. If you actually pay, but you don't pay through the state doesn't count it. So if you say, I care about my kids, here is a check to my ex-wife, here is money, I paid it, here is the canceled check showing that I paid it, New York State says, I don't care, you didn't pay through the state. I'm not joking. You can think that I'm joking, do your own homework. It's true. This is a money-making scheme. That's what it's about. Again, you might go, Larry, why do I care? Who cares? So what? Here's why you should care. New York State is all about making money off of you. And if they can't get it off of fathers and mothers who are paying support for their children or their spouses in court, you know where else they'll get it? Fines and fees. Well, they can't get those sometimes because you know they've done that now. They've made fines and fees all over New York State, everywhere you go. Well, some people don't want to pay those fines and fees. They don't. And I'll give you an example. There are, as you drive across New York State, they've gotten rid of all the toll takers, right? So that job is gone, and now it's all done through cameras. Now, why did you do that? To save money, right? No, not at all. That doesn't save money. To create more jobs for people with their cronies so they could build up stuff. That's why they did it. So they did that. And now some people are not paying that toll because they hide their license plate or whatever. So what does New York City decide to do and New York State decided to do? Seize your cars. They're literally taking your cars, grabbing them, taking them. You don't want to pay a toll? We will just take your car. Yes. So how are you supposed to go to work to pay those tolls? You can't. They've taken your car. They're literally just taking your car. That is the thing. And the thing that's worse is, what if they're wrong? What if you shouldn't have paid? What if there's an excuse to pay? Doesn't matter. They do what they always do. Take the car first. See you in court. This is another form of civil asset forfeiture, which I've been complaining about forever. And most people don't care. They go, that's just for drug dealers. That's who that's for. No, that's for you and me. And I'm not even a drug dealer. I mean, not yet. Maybe one day, but not now. So literally, that's for anybody. You didn't pay your tolls. I'm not joking. Literally, a leaf from the fall falls on your license plate. And so now it can't read, the camera can't read your license plate. They will assume that you purposely did it. I'm not joking. And if they find you haven't been paying your tolls, they will then come and take your car. Yes, they will come and take your car. They're now looking for that and going out there and taking people's cars. Yes, you might go, Larry, I mean, how much are they doing that? Well, right now in New York State, over $30 million per year worth of forfeiture is part of New York State. Over 30 million. Probably more because they don't report hardly any of it. They don't have to. It's local police. It's local police. This is just what goes like the state budget. Who knows locally? I know New York City's in the tens of millions. They're just taking our property. You might go, well, Larry, they deserve it, don't they? Do they? Because some guy or gal doesn't want to pay their tolls, they should lose their car? You can take their stuff versus sue them in court or whatever is the way of doing things. So now, if you don't pay on your debt, I can throw you out of your house, take your house, just take it because you didn't pay $2,000 in, I don't know, you owe me $2,000, I'm gonna come take your house? New York State says yes. New York State says absolutely, I can take your property. It is that plus it is fines and fees. New York City, literally, I'm not making this up, in any given day will, when it comes to traffic fines, fees, summons, 30,000 one day. Let me say it again so that will land. 30,000 one day. Yeah. You might go, wait, Larry, it can't be possible. 30,000. Yep. A lot of those are trucks, obviously, who are parking, deliver stuff, right? A lot of them is that. But say it's half. 15,000? And here's the worst part. Let's say you're a big company. You're a FedEx, a UPS, some delivery company. You're going to get tons of these. Several thousand a day, probably. So what do? You might go, Larry, that's great. Now we'll hammer those big companies and they'll pay. No, they don't. At the end of the year, and again, true, I think I'm making it up. You can go check it out. These companies take all of their fines and fees, one big thing, go to New York State and say, how much I owe you? New York State says, you owe us $10 million, or whatever the number is. We'll give you $3 million now, we'll see you in court. New York City goes, I'll take it. Thank you for the check. Take a check of $3 million, walk off. But what if it's me or you? And it's $50, $100. What if I get my car towed and I want to negotiate? I want to pay 30 cents on a dollar. They go, no, we're keeping your car. I can't go to work. Too bad, shouldn't have parked there. I can't afford $300 to get my car out of impound. Yes, you're screwed because every day it's there, you're paying more. Every day is costing you more until eventually, just give us your car. We'll just take your car. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. So if you're a big company and you're a multi-billion-dollar company, you pay 30 cents on a dollar. But if you're some guy, some gal trying to get yourself to work or have a good time in New York City, boom, $400 you're paying, or you're losing your vehicle. Fines and fees for many law enforcement agencies are over 10%, if not 20% of their budget. Add forfeiture, 30, 40%. Now, how much of that goes to the actual government itself? Tons. Tons. Guess what the top 2 states are? You guessed it. California, New York. Of course. So when it comes to punishment, boy, those 2 states are good. This is why you should care. Whether you care about dads or not, I do. It's coming to you always. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-2000. Back with your calls and the chat after the break.
Introducing a sobering and unavoidable truth. The latest advancements in artificial intelligence have made cyber before. Cyber criminals, the tiniest open accounts, and steal sensitive data. Your finances and your customers' trust are on the line. Call the experts at Simple Tech Innovations now at 585-999-TECH to secure your business today. Don't wait until it's too late. Make the call today. 585-999.
To live the quality of life we deserve in truth and freedom, informed by our Constitution, our laws, and traditions, we need to pick the best leaders possible. Recent experience certainly illustrates that. Free and accurate elections are essential if we're going to restore our society and safeguard our rights. New York Citizens Audit is a volunteer, nonpartisan group which has been lobbying for open source audits of the State Board of Elections and reform of the electoral process statewide. Did you know Citizens Audit has uncovered over 1 million felony violations of election law? That in 2020, there were 625,000 more voter registrations than existing voting age citizens in just 6 New York counties, that there were 338,000 more votes cast than voters who voted. These are just a few shocking examples of the urgent need for reform. You can help. Visit auditny.com and learn the facts, how to volunteer, and make a difference in your community. Again, volunteer, donate, or spread the word. Start at auditny.com. That's auditny.com.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
It is Larry Sharpe here on WYSL, Rochester, New York. Sharpe Way Radio, 888-346-3000 is the number. So happy you give me a chunk of your afternoon. I do want to talk to you guys on the chat. I appreciate it, but I also would like to see if I can grab a call. I want to grab Tim if I can. Tim, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hey, I just want to thank you for bringing up the issue with fathers going through divorce in New York State. I think you're the first person I've ever even heard mention this, and this is a huge problem. Going back a long time ago, I went through a pretty messy.
The reason why I brought this up, just so you're clear, is when I first started running in 2018, and I heard stories, and I'm being forward, I didn't believe them. I thought that this was too horrible to be true. But then I kept hearing the stories, and then I did my own homework, and I realized this is real. And it shocked me, and I understand why so many people don't think it's true. It's tough to believe. I'm sorry, Tim, I just wanted you to hear that. Go ahead.
It is really hard to believe, and I became very active in fathers' rights. I used to be president of Equal Parents for Children group.
Yep.
And we used to go down to our legislators in Albany during LEAD, Legislative Education Awareness Day. I used to bring carloads of people down, and they didn't even want to hear us. They treated us like dirt. They wouldn't
100%.
listen to us. Even people that were I was in a constituent of one of the reps at the time, Joe Arrigo, and he threatened me one time.
Yep.
When I was down in Albany during Lead Day, which is the day you go to bring your issues to our legislative.
Tim, I got to tell you, I was the only candidate in 2018 and 2022 who actually has a plan to reform family court, because I realized how bad it is. What I've always said is there are literally millions of New York men who are devastated by family court. And because of that, it breaks up families, which then breaks up children. So I have a bunch of broken men with a bunch of broken children. How am I going to fix this state? I can't. I need my men and my children to help fix this state. And if they're all broken, I can't do it. And the problem you have is a lot of politicians didn't want to take this because they will be seen as either being anti-woman or anti-mom, or they'd be seen as you're just supporting deadbeat dads, which here's what people don't understand. The system actually supports deadbeat dads. If you're a deadbeat dad, you get away with murder. The people who get hammered are the dads who actually want to be part of their family. Those are the guys who get hammered.
Yep. I want to bring up one thing too. When I looked into it to find out how it could be so bad, and this was in the 80s, early 90s, it became evident to me that the whole rationale between setting the parameters up with the percentages that you're, supposed to pay, like one child, 25%, two children, 29%, three children, 32% of your gross. First of all, it's based on gross dollars, which is really unfair. Secondly, it was a study in welfare reform in the 1980s, going back to Tommy Tompkins, I think it was, in Wisconsin, where he came up with these percentages for what it costs the state when one of these deadbeat dads, originally we're just going after deadbeat dads.
Yep.
And when they started going after them with these percentages, it was based on an average income of these deadbeat dads or these families, average income of about $10,000 or $12,000. So the 30% thing and the 28%, they just extrapolated it to all income levels.
Well, Tim, I got to go one step further. The courts have been horrible in even accepting that people's job or career status could change, right? If I stay married and I don't have a job, I'm good. If I stay married and I'm a deadbeat, I'm good. But if all of a sudden I get divorced, now I have to make $100,000 a year for the rest of my life? How does that work? I might as well just stay married and be a deadbeat husband.
And I can't tell you how many people, and it not only affects the dad and the family, but it affects the grandparents on the side of the
100%.
On the paternal side of the family.
Absolutely. Excellent. Tim, thank you so much for that. I have been behind. If you care, you'll know that in the future, as I run again, I will always speak about family court and family law. Thank you.
Keith.
So I'm going to grab another call if I can. This is Keith. How are you, sir?
I wasn't even going to talk about the subject you and Tim were talking about, but I want to say to everyone who has kids, you probably shouldn't have them if you can't afford them. I always worry about the children, and there are many of them who are not looked after. So Tim brought up exactly deadbeat dads, but I'm sorry. I understand where Tim is coming from in his outrage, but I'm angry at all parents who they loved each other once to the degree that they came together as a married couple. And I'm going to sound most naive here. I don't understand how loving people then can turn against each other to that degree that the children are caught in the middle. And I just wish so-called adults would grow up and be adult and sober and not inflict this on their children. It's just very bad.
Let me touch there if I could for a second, Keith. There is an incentive in the court system for that to happen. And why most people don't know this. If you lie in family court, it is not treated as perjury, which is insane, but still true. So what does that mean? Literally, and I'm not making this up, I've said it before, no lawyer is suing because they know it's true. Many lawyers will encourage their clients to lie because there's no repercussions. So literally, you will find this happen constantly. The mom will be afraid that she may lose custody of her child. Why is she afraid? The lawyer tells her to be afraid. So she's now scared. Maybe she wasn't before. Now she is. And the lawyer now tells her, look, I'm not saying that he hit you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if he did, then probably you'll get the kids. And she goes, what? Yeah, if you happen to say it. And then she says it and it didn't happen. She just lies. She goes, oh yeah, I was scared for my life. I thought he was going to kill me. She says this. The judge, of course, goes, I don't want the kids to be in this world. Gives the kids to the mom. Now that keeps going. Now, would she have said it anyway? Some people are bad people. I'm sure there are terrible women who would have said that. But I don't think the average mom was going to say that unless she's put into a position of fear, worry, and all of a sudden now encouraged by the system to do so. That happens all the time. So again, I'm sure there are bad moms who do it anyway, bad dads, they exist. But I can't imagine the average mom would do this. I just wanted to add that piece to it, Keith.
Oh, I wanted to talk about something else, but in closing, because I know you can only give everyone a certain amount of time. You brought up a very valid point about the god-awful judicial system. So I'll ask in closing, what, pray tell, are the libertarians going to do about it to get in there and kick arse and get this squared away? You just mentioned lying attorneys, which everyone has come upon. What would you as a libertarian do to bring the judicial system to bear so that all of these problems that are aggravated are not worsened by a so-called justice system?
I will do a couple of things. The first thing for family court specifically is I would say that now you must treat lying in family court as perjury. If you do that, that's a felony. Once you do that, if any lawyer encourages their client to do that, they would be an accessory to accomplice, accessory, whatever the word is, to a felony. They would lose their law license. That will stop overnight. Not just that, if the mom or the grandma or the granddad or all of them might go to jail if they lie in court, they'll stop lying in court. So immediately, that's the first step. The second step is you want cameras in courtrooms unless minors are giving testimony. You start having that, it will change everything. Absolutely. Cameras in the court system all the time to stop these terrible judges from making terrible things. And lastly, call the judges out. You do that, things will change. If you can stay through the break, go ahead, please. I'm going to have to run. Guys, everybody, thank you so much so far. We are still rocking and rolling. Larry Sharpe, WYSL Rochester, New York. Sharpe Radio, 585-346-3000. Back with more calls, and I see you in the chat. I'll get to you after the break.
I hung up on Keith because we have another call. Tyler after the break.
For truth and freedom.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. For tonight, we'll see clearing skies, temperatures in the 20s. On Wednesday, some breaks of sunshine, not a bad day in the 30s, low 40s. Generally fair weather Thursday and Friday in the 30s to near 40.
Stupid me. We were having problems with that talk back, and I was worried trying to figure things out. I never ended up hitting the recorder to start recording this for podcast.
On Christmas. I'm Rich Cadelia, WYSL.
So just FYI, it won't be on our website for podcast, but I trust you probably keep an archive or video stream somewhere.
A variety of styles and sizes of quality built storage buildings.
Yep, I'll let
Take
people know if
advantage of their
they
3%
email.
discount on buildings when you pay with check or cash, or choose to pay by rent to own with no
It's odd
credit check.
because this
These
was
buildings
working
are
fine
constructed
last
using
night.
premium
We
grade
do a
lumber,
live
and most
show,
carry a
soccer
30-year
show every
limited
Monday
warranty.
night. But oh well,
Currently in
you know, it's
stock
like anything
gazebos
else.
and
Something
select sheds are
electronic
on
will
sale
just
at
go when
rock
it
bottom
goes.
prices. And if your clearance sale price is now in effect on in-stock outdoor products. Take advantage of sale prices now by doing your Christmas shopping early. You can pay by layaway as well. Springwater Amish Workshop will store your gift until Christmas. All American made, mostly Amish built. Take the scenic drive to Springwater Amish Workshop. You'll be happy you did. 7936 Mill Street, Route 15 in Springwater. Open Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturdays 9 to 3. Check out SpringwaterAmishWorkshop.com.
WYSL.
You'll get more for your Monday. You'll get much greater value. You talk to kind, courteous people who really care. They're so sincere. I recommend them to my family. I recommend them to my friends. They've gone way above and beyond my great expectations. It's Bob Johnson Chevrolet. Bob Johnson Chevrolet. Bob Johnson Chevrolet.
If you know, you know. Bob Johnson is wrapping up the year with year-end event pricing on all models to push for that top spot. We're proud to be number one for a reason. Bob Johnson Chevrolet has the largest selection, the most experienced staff, the best experience, and of course, the biggest savings for you.
Bob Johnson Chevrolet. Bob Johnson Chevrolet. Bob Johnson Chevrolet.
Visit Bob Johnson Chevrolet today. It's a better place to buy a car.
Merry Christmas, YSL.
Looking for a gift for that hard-to-buy-for person? A gift from Fratelli's Restaurant in Avon is sure to please. While giving the gift of fine Italian food, Fratelli's gives you a gift too through Christmas Eve. Buy $50 or more of gift cards and receive a free $10 certificate. Some restrictions apply. Fratelli's will be open for catering pickup orders and gift certificates from noon to 4 on Christmas Eve. Call 346-6160. Homemade meals like Grandma used to make. Fratelli's Restaurant, Route 15, Avon.
Introducing a sobering and unavoidable truth. The latest advancements in artificial intelligence have made cyber attacks easier than ever before. Cyber criminals are relentlessly targeting your business right now, seeking the tiniest opening in your defenses to drain your accounts and steal sensitive data. Your finances and your customers' trust are on the line. Call the experts at Simple Tech Innovations now at 585-999-TECH to secure your business today. Don't wait until it's too late. Make the call today. 585-999-TECH.
New from Aaron Moore infrared zone heaters, and the perfect gift. It's the Comfort Buddy, a smaller heater for the guest room, laundry room, or that sun porch. And the Comfort Buddy offers the famous Aaron Moore advantages like no exposed hot surfaces, child and pet safety, plus big energy savings. Here's a bonus. Upgrade your Comfort Buddy with an optional air purifier you can use all year. Buy direct and get the lowest web price. Use the promo code WYSL and save even more. Call 800-707-8725 or visit air, the letter N, more.com.
All Seasons Wine and Spirits, your local and locally owned store, supporting your neighbors and our community. Always save at All Seasons on cases of your favorites. No sales events necessary. All Seasons Wines and Spirits voted best in Livingston County, 255 Main Street in Avon.
Hot meals served daily to over 300 men, women, and children. Addiction recovery for men and women producing stable, productive lives. Safe,
You're hearing
healthy
me again,
shelter
right?
for homeless men, women, and children.
Okay.
Your gifts make a difference all year long. Go to opendoormission.com. Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes, it is
Tyler
Sharpe here on Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. So happy you're giving me a chunk of your afternoon. 585-346-3000. Been talking about New York State beating people up, taking their cars, taking their licenses, crushing them in court, all the bad things that are coming to you wherever you might be. Let me grab another call if I could. This is Tyler. Tyler, how are you?
Hi, good. Thanks for taking my call, Larry.
Of course.
So I'm a family law attorney. I actually practice in California, and I was catching you online. Big fan of yours. So I thought I would just say a few points real quick. One that I find, especially with the libertarian, is, or men in general, is they don't prepare for court properly. So a lot of times the wife is preparing correctly. They're taking notes. They're doing everything. And then the man goes in there and they're not ready for this. And then they let the system steamroll them. And when that happens, then they are put behind the 8 ball, and there's a lot of problems. Now, there's a lot of problems with like Title IV, the Social Security Act. Also, we can go into that as well. The Domestic Violence Prevention Act is also a problem.
Hold on one second. 1 second, Tyler, just so people who are listening know, the federal government actually gives the state money to take kids away. So just want to make sure that was true, so we understood that. So go ahead, keep going.
Well, we can talk. Yeah. So Title IV-D of the Social Security, it's the states get $2 for every $3 that they spend in part of their program. Now that program could be for doing paternity and then child support, but it's not enforcing support. It's just in that process. So the states are incentivized to keep this in place. And if actually you look at the blue states compared to the red states, a lot of times the red ones, the GOP ones, are worse off in this system for fathers. You can even look to see what the actual presumption of parenthood is for the red states and blue states, and most red being GOP, and the blue states actually are a presumption of 50% at the head. Now, a lot of these Republican states don't want to do anything about this, and I'm not saying the Democrat ones are any better, but they don't want to do anything because then if you think about it, if the presumption is to not get 50% and it's lower and it gives a benefit to the mom, well, then you're already putting the dad in a situation where they're going to have enforcement for support, and the money just flows into those states.
Well, I'm funny you're saying that, right? Some people think that this is only a blue state thing. Not at all. This is absolutely blue, red, purple, doesn't matter. This is a family court system that crosses the country. I know New York State best because I live here. I've crossed the state 1,000 times. So I know New York State the most, but I think you're correct. It is across the country.
Yeah, and one other thing I would say about lying in court, I don't doubt that there are attorneys that do that kind of stuff. But like I said, with the Domestic Violence Prevention Act, a lot of these people are incentivized to present an issue of abuse early on. And that abuse, at least in California, it can be as much as beating the crap out of your wife or disturbing her peace, which is, hey, I called her too many times at 6 a.m. And it's a ridiculous standard. And these people know it. And then they put and so many times we go to court on an initial restraining order that the father has been violating it subsequently, trying to see his kids. And now the issue isn't whether you actually had a legitimate domestic violence, but that you've violated it. So once again, this is a problem. And my problem with the kind of the male side of this whole spectrum, that it makes them victims. And then when they come to court, they're already like, hey, the system is against me. I'm doomed. And that's not the case. And you can fight it, but you've got to be ready and prepared for this if it does happen to you.
This is a point that I think you're right. right? The biggest piece that I see is that so many men can't believe that the system is going to affect them the way it will. So you're right. They go in thinking, I'm a good dad. I'm not a deadbeat dad. Therefore, I'll be fine. And you're right. It's absolutely not true. It's a similar thing that people have when they go to criminal court. They think, I don't need an attorney. I'm innocent. They think it's okay. And you're completely correct. It is not okay. You got to go in ready to go. I agree with you.
Yeah, that's just kind of my points on there, Larry. I appreciate what you're doing here, trying to help men out in the area. So in this particular point, and I think that men, once again, you just need to be prepared for this. And 100%. If it's going to happen to you, and do what you can. It doesn't mean you have to get an attorney, but definitely look into what your rights are and be ready to fight it. Because I have, maybe I'm different in California, but there are definitely situations I have where fathers have full custody because they went about it the right way and they are the good parent. So, hopefully that'll help.
It does. And I think to be fair, it is getting better as we put more shine a spotlight on this, and there's more divorce and there's more parents going through this. Recognize that right now the system is helping out the crazy mom and a deadbeat dad, and the good mom and the good dad are getting punished. I completely agree. Thank you for the call, Tyler.
Thank you.
All righty. Yes, I'm glad someone actually called in. Again, saying the same thing, right? What I've been talking about before. And this person, this is their daily life, right? They're in this. Exactly true. So I want to grab some comments if I could. I know you guys are doing a lot of chat. I do want to grab some of these if I can. So Joe says, how can they make dollars like that and still be in debt? Because the government can't stop spending, Joe. That's why. Yes. Daniel says, debtors' prisons were supposed to be a trope in a Dickensian novels, not modern life. But again, New York State outdoes itself in villainy. Ooh, Daniel. Very nice. Nicely done. Absolutely. So, yes, debtors' prisons aren't supposed to be a thing, but they are. And this goes back to Tyler's point. The court is worried about punishing the man versus saying he should be with his kid. I would add an overall piece. Right now, it seems obvious that judges, as a general rule, are focused on dollars going to the child, which is not a bad thing. I'm not against mothers or fathers or whomever paying for their children. Not against. I think Keith is right. You had the kid, you got to pay for him. I'm not against that. But that should not be the priority. The priority should be children with kin. That should be priority. And right now it isn't. I lost my father when I was a kid. I was 12, 11 when my father died. And I would have rather had a broke dad than no dad any day of the week. So again, not saying the money isn't an issue. It is. Money matters. We got to pay bills. My point is, okay, dad can't pay, 25%. He can pay 20% and still spend time with the kid. Deal. Let's put him on a payment plan or something. Let's not put him in jail. Let's not take away his license. Let's get him in front of his kid, right? Having parents in the child's life is more important than having money in the child's life. I know that. I would have taken a broke dad over no dad every single weekend without even, yes, 100%. 100%. So, yes. I'm going to grab a couple more of these. John says, New York loves taking property, especially loves invoking eminent domain. John, I didn't even speak about that. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, not just taking your property, but also your physical property, like your land. Of course, New York State's all about it. And people think it doesn't matter until it hits them. And I'm going to go back to what Tyler said. Why would some guy go into court not thinking there's a problem? Because he thinks nobody would do that to me, right? I'm not a deadbeat dad. I want to be part of my kid's life. No judge would see that bad. Nobody. That wouldn't happen, right? But Tyler is 100% correct. The system is the system is the system. And if you don't know how to use the system, and the hard part is, if you're listening to this and you know this world, you know what I'm talking about. The deadbeat dad masters the system. They know exactly how to use the system. So the deadbeat dad is probably, has studied what Tyler studied to make sure he can basically be like a lawyer so he can scam the system, right? But the good dad says, I don't need to do that. And that's what a system favors a deadbeat dad and punishes the good dad. 100% true. Yes, it is just crazy. So Shelly says, former toll collector here, Signal 7, non-payment, was a $250 fine over 30 years ago. Wow. Crazy. Daniel doubles down. He says, missed the toll, $4.50, leads to seizure of a vehicle worth $20,000 plus. This is a New York State definition of proportionality. Yes, again and again and again. Yes. Patty says, I was just writing about a friend whose Easy Pass was muddy on 5 rainy days, lost her car over 5 unpaid tolls in 1 month. And I got to tell you, the guy who runs the MTA in New York City literally said, this is his quote, he said it, yes, this is a profit center for us. And he smiled. He said, yes, this is a profit center for us. And he smiled. He was happy as he was taking New York City people's property. New York State people driving to the city, taking their property. Good Christmas music. Merry Christmas. I'm taking your car. Welcome to New York State. Merry Christmas, suckers. That's where we are. Oh, my God. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. Back with your calls and more of your chat. I see you. I'll grab more of it after the break.
Introducing a sobering and unavoidable truth. The latest advancements in artificial intelligence have made cyber attacks easier than ever before.
Okay, I have Roger.
Cyber criminals are relentlessly.
You're welcome. By the way, you were talking about like having a leaf on your license plate. You know, there actually is. You can actually, from what I hear, get a ticket from an officer for having, whether it be mud, grass, anything on your license plate, and they actually refer to it as vegetation. It's a vegetation fine, if I'm not mistaken.
Make the call today, 585-9999.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've also heard, you know, like when you buy a car and the dealer puts that plate, the plastic thing around the license plate that says the name of the dealership, if that plastic shroud covers any bit of a word, including Empire State or New York, it's $100 fine, even if it covers like millimeters of a letter. Yeah, I've heard, depending on the cop, it's quite a money grab. In 1926, the Avon Fire Department put an earrings. That's why when I buy a car, that comes off immediately. Stored in a museum near Toronto. Avon has an opportunity to bring the Fox home for its
so just to confirm, we got Roger. I'll be interested to see what he has to say about what you're talking about.
Fox Full Circle Preservation Society needs your help. Look us up on Facebook or call 615-6463. Let's bring home the Fox.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. WYSL, Rochester, New York. Sharpe Way Radio. Larry Sharpe is here talking about how New York State is just punishing people, taking their stuff, finding and feeing them, forfeiture, all these things. Meanwhile, all we talk about is how we're going to tax the rich or punish the big corporation. I hear that all the time. I don't see it. I see them constantly punishing the middle class, working poor. I see that punishment constantly, again and again. I don't see the punishing the big guys. People got mad at me when I was talking about leasing naming rights out to bridges so that big companies could pay for infrastructure. They're like, Larry, that looks bad. Well, okay, maybe it does, but at least I got the big guys paying at least. The current system, the big guys aren't paying squat. Anyway, let me grab a call if I can. This is Roger. Roger, how are you, sir?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
I'm on the bus. Okay. Yeah, I'm on the bus because I had my car impounded. Not for the same reason, but kind of similar. Yeah, it's a long story. But here's the thing. As far as where New York City is concerned, okay, this is all a plot to, where in the world is this bus going? I'm getting off. This is all a plot. This is all a plot to do anything it can to relieve congestion in New York City. That's what this is about, okay? This is the reason why there's congestion pricing, okay? Here's a dumb thing about congestion pricing. You can't do two things at once. Either you're doing it to relieve congestion or you're using it to raise funds to finance infrastructure. Okay.
Right.
You can only be successful at one of them, because when you're successful at one, the other one fails if you think about it.
Yep.
But anyway, at the same time, look, here's the thing. Our taxes are already paying for these things. Therefore, there's no need for them to be charging us easy passes, Metro cards, Long Island Railroad tickets. If our taxes already pay for these things, they're double dipping. There's
They're
no need
supposed
to
to be
do
paying,
this.
but they're clearly not.
Yeah. So there's no need to do this if the tax is already paid for it. If you are in need of raising revenue to pay for infrastructure, then charter a public bank. It'll be able to raise revenue, because the main purpose of a public bank, as I said before,
Another call
is
on
an
hold.
infrastructure bank to keep it in the hands of public ownership. So you raise revenue based on tax deposits to finance infrastructure, and therefore you can get rid of the need for Metro cards, Long Island Railroad tickets, and easy passes. This is kind of
I'm
like
not fighting you at all,
the car
Roger.
towing.
I'm not fighting you.
The thing with the car impounding, that is a vehicle version. That's a vehicle version of those who like the pedestrian version of that is those who jump the turnstile to catch the train.
Right. Right. That makes sense. I get it. Roger, thank you for the call. I don't think I could have made a better call. Someone actually on the bus because their car got impounded. I wish I had planned that. That was amazing.
Mike from Rochester.
So, yes, it's just funny that, thank you for that, Roger, that Roger actually had that happen to him and he called in. How good is that? I wish I had planned it. So let me grab the call if I could. Mike, how are you, sir?
Larry, hey, while we're talking about New York State ripping off its citizens, I heard that Albany's now looking at wanting to put in red light cameras throughout New York State. We had them here in Rochester for a while, and they yanked them out. But some other states have been putting them in. And what they've been doing is, when you go to fight, if you want to fight the red light ticket, it's $100 to go fight the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
If you're guilty or not guilty, you got to pay $100 just to go before a judge.
Right.
And I heard that New York State in January is looking at doing a similar program throughout.
Yeah, there's about, I think, 100 bills or so that are up for our governor to look at. And I think one of them is that. She has not, if I remember right, I don't think she said she's going to sign it or not. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but you are correct. That is proposed. That's accurate. It's proposed. I don't know if it's going to happen yet. But of course, it's another way. Why do they want to keep building things? This is a way that they can reward their cronies with work, with jobs. That's why they do it, right? So they can do that. And then they make this new thing out so that now there's more cameras, so under more surveillance, which is important. And they have a new way of being, remember, this is a way of you being guilty until proven innocent. This is how they get around the Constitution. And boy, is it working.
Sure is. Okay, that's
Thank you,
all
sir.
I got.
I appreciate it. Have a good one. So yes, now I've got Mike talking about more stuff. What will these cameras do? This is what will happen. It'll get more New Yorkers to just give up, because Mike is correct. A lot of people aren't going to take a day off from work, spend $100 to fight this ticket. They're just going to pay it. They're going to, I'm going to pay it. Or worse, they're going to ignore it until now there's the extra, as Shelley says, $250 fee plus the other $250 fee. And before you know it, they're on a bus because their car got impounded. That's going to wind up happening. And then more people get broken. More people get busted. More people get hurt until eventually we just start giving up as a state, which I think in the long run is actually the goal, to just have us all just surrender. Fine, whatever you say, yes. That's what I feel the long run is. And so many people who don't want to surrender, sadly, are leaving. The people who are fighting, too few of them are staying. Too many of them are like, I'm done. I can't fight here anymore. I'm out. I think Mike brings up a valid point. I do think another point that Roger brings up. If we're paying all these taxes, why are we also paying all these fines and fees and tolls and everything else? He's right. If you're telling me New York City, you're paying taxes so we can have an MTA. Okay, I'm paying my taxes. Why am I paying for the MTA? I think he's totally correct. If that's what you're saying. Or don't pay taxes and it's all just user fees. Okay, I can buy either of those, right? But I can't buy both. I think Rogers, I think he's right there. So let me walk down some more comments if I could have so many of them. I do appreciate it. So Mike Voss is watching. Mike, how are you, sir? He says, it's crazy that these policies to take property never resolve the promise they're based on. More safety, peace, limiting debt, etc. Yeah, right. In theory, obviously not practice. Once I start taking all your stuff, I should then solve the problem, right? Now I should have no crime, or now I should get rid of my debt. To Joe's point also, you take all the money, you're still in debt? But no, it just becomes more ways of spending. It becomes part of the budget. And then we just keep spending. I completely agree. Yes, I completely agree. That's a great point. Let's see if I can grab another one if I can. User has been banned says, I recall something about that when I-95 was built, certain groups having property taken from them for nothing. Yes, I remember that group. And that group had some melanin in their skin. That's true. And didn't help that group at all. You are correct. Absolutely. John doubles down on his eminent domain point. He says, that is what many Central New Yorkers go through now with Micron coming in. Yes, for those who don't know, Micron is a big business coming in to New York State because sadly for New York State, economic growth does not come from the private sector anymore. It comes from the public sector. It comes from government investment. So government bribes people, they bribe companies and then take people's local land to have that company come. I wish I was joking. New York State is such a horrible state for business that they have to bribe people and rob local people to get big business to come. That is how broken my state is. John is correct. And instead of them saying, wait a minute, why don't we fix that? They go, no, let's just double down on that. Let's just double down on that. Of course. He's completely correct. Thank you, John, for that. I appreciate that. So let's see if I can grab here. Gene says, Roger's idea of financing roads sounds a lot like my idea for financing healthcare. I've heard that before too. Actually, I remember, I think it was a libertarian congressman said she wanted to finance healthcare with healthcare itself, with the actual facilities. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for today. I appreciate you giving me a small chunk of your day. It was great talking with all of you. I'll be back here next week, of course. And also, I will be back Thursday night and Thursday day at noon. If you want to see me then, I will see you all very soon.